In Newfoundland and Labrador, there's going to be an emergency debate convened this morning inside the Assembly. Lawmakers meeting to discuss legislation to make private ambulance services essential in the province. On Friday, more than 100 private ambulance workers walked out in rural areas of the province. Let's bring in Heather Gillis. She's live in our St. John's Bureau with the details of what is happening this exceptional session today. Heather.
Well, Premier Andrew Furey says, and his Labour Minister will be briefing reporters on this proposed legislation this morning. Now, as you said, the House is going to reconvene on an extraordinary basis at 10 o'clock Newfoundland time this morning. Workers with 7 rural private ambulance services in pockets of rural areas of this province are on strike. Now, those services are all owned by one company called Fewers, and the workers there are not considered essential workers, which is why they can strike. Now, this proposed legislation could change that, with the Premier saying on Saturday it is necessary in order to protect the safety of patients. The province will also meet with the union, that's Teamsters Local 855, and the union also says that over this weekend, despite a major snowstorm, there were no incidents over the weekend with getting people to and from hospital. And if passed today, that legislation would force the striking workers back on the job until an essential service agreement is hammered out between the employer and the workers, and then any strike action could continue after that.
And what are the striking ambulance workers looking for, Heather?
Well, they're looking for more pay and a pension plan. And this strike, it's worthy to note, also comes at a time when a number of rural emergency rooms in this province are closed due to a shortage of healthcare workers. And in some cases, it means ambulances have to transport patients further, longer to hospital for emergency care. And until the strike is resolved, the head of the province's Paramedics Association says he fears the worst could happen.
Any position in the hospital, really, they're short staff at the moment, and so now you have less staff in the system overall, and you have more the same number of calls still happening, and the trucks that are on the roads right now, they're now having to respond to more calls than they would normally have to traditionally respond to. So it's stretching it way thin beyond a point of being feasible.
Now, the union says they've been fighting to be deemed essential workers for years now. And if that's the case, when this legislation is unveiled a little later this morning, the union says that they'll be happy. But union leader Hubert Daw says he can't comment on this legislation yet, on this latest development, until he sees the wording in the laws that are going to be put through the House of Assembly. And until the strike is resolved, the head of the province's largest health authority is telling people to still call 911 in any sort of emergency, and they will send the next nearest ambulance. Heather?
That emergency session getting underway next hour. We'll be following with you, Heather, today. Thank you, Heather Gillis, in St. John's this morning.